And hello there, Roster Watch Nation. It's your friendly neighborhood Trashman. Back with another Best Ball Mania 3 draft. If you're interested in joining along, please do. So I have this lobby open, this window in this lobby. I'm going to enter this next Best Ball Mania 3 draft, 30 seconds per pick. So feel free to join along and do so as well. Oh, wow. I guess I was the last person to join this draft, so the draft is starting in a minute. So if you are choosing to draft along or drafting another one of these underdog fantasy best ball 3 drafts along with me, make sure you get our 2022 best ball cheat sheet to aid you in your drafts. So if this is one of the first drafts that you've taken part of with me, the name of the game here, is stacking. So making sure that we are enhancing our chances to do better in these, large field contests. And the way to do that is to make teams, compile teams that have stacks on them. Stacks of, so by stacks, I mean having a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, or some combination of them, 3 or more from a particular team. And so some popular stacks that I've made recently are the Cowboys. The Cowboys you can seem to make a pretty decent stack out of just because of where you can draft Dak Prescott. And so I've made quite a few of these best ball 3 drafts with Cowboy stacks. So I'm going to try to avoid doing that if I can, just because I've already had a few. So making some of these lesser or less popular stacks is kind of what I'm going to be angling for in this draft. We'll see how that goes. All right. So according to the cheat sheet, it would have us take Kelsey here. Actually Mixon. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And so just, a kind of stack just off the top of my head, you could start making with that. Let's mix in Bro and maybe even a T. Higgins. So I got another pick coming up in just a second. I guess I could go T. Higgins, but let me see who the cheat sheet would have us take. It would be either Najee Harris or Mike Evans. We'll see which one of these guys falls. Okay, both of them fall. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Najee Harris here. I've yet to take 2 running backs as my first 2 picks in one of these. Drafts. So we'll see how that goes for us. Okay, so first 2 picks, Joe Mixon, Najee Harris. Also, when we're making these picks, kind of want to, if we can, pay attention to when their buys are. um, so as to not have players at the same position with the same bye week if we can at all avoid it. So right now we have Joe Mixon, Najee Harris. Um, you could potentially make a Pittsburgh stack with Najee Harris. I mean, I think it'd be an easy one to do because we could get Mitch Trubisky really late in one of these drafts. And there are, a number of Steeler pass catchers that we could get a little bit later in this draft too. So that actually might be the stack I'm more inclined to go with of a Cincinnati Pittsburgh stack. But, we'll see where our next picks take us and see if they take us in a different direction. T. Higgins just went. So chances of making a decent Cincinnati stack are dwindling. I suppose we could get a Tyler Boyd in there later. But that's less appealing to me than maybe a Pittsburgh stack with Trubisky and maybe a Chase Claypool um, or a Pat Fryermuth, who I think is undervalued right now in drafts. If I'm not mistaken, I think he was their primary red zone target. I mean, got the most red zone targets of any of their players last season. So Mike Williams just went. A.J. Brown, who, if you've paid attention to my last output from rosterwatch.com, I think has the potential to be a bust this season. What about that humming noise? It's my AC. It's making all sorts of. I think it's just revolting against me in this 106-degree Texas heat. Okay, I'm picking again. All right, so let's take a look who's available right now. I mean, we could get Deontay Johnson here. I say we do that, work on that stack. So Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson, Mitch Trubisky stack would be pretty sick. So with this next pick, probably take another receiver. Probably be shrewd to do so. Or tight end. I mean, Darren Waller right there. Okay, we'll go Terry McLaurin here. So first four picks: Joe Mixon, Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson, Terry McLaurin. I'm angling in on a Pittsburgh stack. So I will queue up Mitch Trubisky. I don't think it's really necessary. I just kind of think maybe it'll be a good idea to just keep tabs on him. Because I might lose track of him later in one of these drafts. And too, it also might be shrewd to take Kenny Pickett later on just in case there's some sort of changing of the guard sometime this season. So some other players that I'm going to be interested in. I mean, Brees Hall for sure. I don't think I'm going to get him. And I think it might be shrewd. I mean, it's probably going to be smart to take another quarterback a little bit earlier if a good one falls to us, because I will be able to get Trubisky late, but it might behoove me to take another quarterback earlier. So we'll keep Mahomes in that mix. George Kittle, we'll keep in that mix too. He'd be a great first tight end to take. Um, Kyler Murray. Josh Jacobs. I mean, his upside isn't tremendous, but his floor is about as good as you can get. So 5 picks away. If Mahomes or Murray falls, I'd be remiss to not take one of them, I think. So we'll see what happens. None of these guys in front of me have taken quarterbacks, so there's a chance that either one or both. Well, let's hope Mahomes falls. We'll see. Okay. I'm going to take Mahomes here. So, kind of the idea being that I could take Mahomes here and then get Trubisky late and make that stack, or I could potentially make a Kansas City stack based off of this Mahomes pick. I mean, just because there are a lot of Kansas City pass catchers that could be viable this season. So we'll see. The next pick coming up, I think I either take. I mean, maybe I'd take a Dalton Schultz at tight end, just because it's going to be a while before any other really marquee tight ends. Well, I guess T.J. Hawkinson is there, but so who's available here? I think I'm going to go with Schultz there. Yeah, just round out my starting group. Just because I'm going to be able to fill in a lot of these positions with depth later on. So, team as it stands right now is Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, Joe Mixon, Najee Harris at running back, Deontay Johnson, Terry McLaurin at wide receiver, and Dalton Schultz tight end. Pretty salty so far. Few players with week 9 buys, so maybe try to avoid that outside of Mitch Trubisky and or Kenny Pickett. J.K. Dobbins just went right after Joe Burrow. So Cincinnati stack potential is out the window. That's okay, though. So I'm going to take a look at some of these KC players who I might be able to make a stack out of. I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Marquez Valdes-Scantling are still out there. Sky Moore's out there. I mean, Chase Claypool's out there if I want to continue that Pittsburgh stack. Robert Woods, not he's on neither one of those teams, but I just like him. I think he's being really undervalued in drafts right now. So 7 picks away. Some other players who might be good ideas to take a chance on. Drake London out of Atlanta. Michael Thomas potentially. It's Murphy. I'm watching Murphy for a friend. She's a sweet dog, but she talks a lot. Okay, so just looking at the players I've queued. I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the next one in this group I maybe need to potentially make, but I think maybe I can take a player before him. Drake London if he falls. Oh, and he did not. Okay. So I'm going to take Clyde Edwards-Helaire here just because I don't think I'm going to be able to get him. Well, I mean, I think I could maybe get him in that second pick. The pick, 5 spots away, but I really want to try to make some sort of KC stack. So maybe, a little bit of a reach. Okay, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling is gone. So maybe I take Sky Moore with my next one just to make sure I get a little piece of that Kansas City receiving core. See if there's anybody I feel like I need to take ahead of him. I mean, Rashad Penny here. I feel like I have to take Rashad Penny there. I don't know. I feel like there's just too much value there to be had. So I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully Sky Moore sticks around. If not, then we have other options. We can go for that Pittsburgh stack a little bit later. Oh, and there's McCole Hardman still there, still kicking around. And that would be, a little less popular of a KC stack to make, which is probably good in one of these large field contests, to be honest. Michael Gallup, I'm going to keep an eye on a little bit later just because I think he's being undervalued in drafts right now. Mainly because he's probably not going to start off the season, but if I can get a little bit of that Dallas offense a little later, that's always going to be a good thing. So I'm pretty good at running back for now. Team as it stands right now is Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, Joe Mixon, Najee Harris, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Rashad Penny at running back, Deontay Johnson, Terry McLaurin at receiver, and Dalton Schultz at tight end. Pretty stout team. Probably focus more on receivers these next couple of picks, hoping to get either Sky Moore or McCole Hardman so I can build on that Kansas City stack. So I'm hoping at least one of those two fall to me. If not, I'll continue to work on this Pittsburgh stack potentially, maybe with a Pat Fryermuth. Um, so we'll see what happens. I just have to make sure if I do that, that later on I do take Mitchell Trubisky to complete that stack. Okay, so we'll see. We're 5 picks away. We'll see how many of the players in my queue get eaten up. Okay, Sky Moore's gone. A little bit bummed about that. I was hoping to get him on this next turn. Let's see if there's any other players in front of them that I need to take or feel behooved to take. There aren't really any guys who I'm just champing at the bit to have on my team and ahead of McCole Hardman. So I'm just going to take Hardman here to complete that KC stack, or not completed it necessarily, but fill it out. So from KC, I have Patrick Mahomes, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, McCole Hardman. Probably the least envied stack potentially of those starters, but could work out in one of these large field contests. Okay. So with my next pick, Ramondre Stevenson would be, a fair pick there, but I think I'm good at running back right now. I think maybe I take Pat Fryermuth here. Okay. Just part of that Pittsburgh stack. All right, so I think I'm good on Pittsburgh players for a while. I'll angle on getting Trubisky later in the draft. But as far as my stacks go, I think I'm pretty well set there so far. And so now I can look at some players who I just kind of want to have on my team. So I've kind of moved away from the cheat sheet at this point. So I have my starting, well, ideally starting group here. So now I'm just going to start queuing up some players who I just like for fantasy. I think will have some upside. Christian Watson, a lot of potential there. Could end up being the number one receiver there in Green Bay. Rashad White's an interesting case. I mean, we know that Tom Brady doesn't love to rely on rookies, but we know that Leonard Fournette, is coming in overweight. The team's a little bit disappointed about that. So maybe Rashad gets some passing game action early on. We'll cue him up. We'll see. Damian Pierce, I love in Houston. I think he could definitely be the top back in Houston this season. Isaiah Spiller, I also love in fantasy. Jamison Williams, I don't love his quarterback in Jared Goff, but he's just such a talented player. He's somebody to keep tabs on. Naheem Himes, also a player I think is going to get a lot of action, a lot of receptions this season. Jamison Crowder, I think it's pretty good value where you can get him in drafts right now. Um, just because I think he's going to get his fair share of targets there in Buffalo. I mean, it's arguably the best passing offense in football, arguably. So if you can get a piece of that later on, that's always good. So cue him up. Okay. Almost my pick again. Um, think I'm going to go for Pierce here. I know I don't necessarily need another running back, but I just think the value of Pierce is too high to not take him there. Potential value of Pierce. Alberto in Denver, I love. Probably not going to take it another running back, but Tyler Algier has potential to be the lead back in Atlanta this season. So I'm going to take running back kind of out of the mix here. So it is my pick again. I'm going to take Michael Gallup just because his potential value is so high. And I think a lot of players are shying away from him right now in drafts because it has the potential to not start in week 1, but we don't know that for sure. And getting Michael Gallup at value in one of the league's most potent offenses is always a good thing. So team as it stands, Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, Joe Mixon, Najee Harris, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Rashad Penny, Damian Pierce at running back, then Deontay Johnson, Terry McLaurin, Mecole Hardman, and Michael Gallup at receiver, then Dalton Schultz and Pat Freiermuth at tight end. Need to get a tight end that does not have a week 9 buys. Both of those guys do. So I'll make sure to, Alberto, one of the other guys I love, week 9 buy. Week 9 buy, all these guys I love. So I'm going to take him off. Other tight ends without week 9 buys that I'm interested in. Take David Njoku. He's got a week 9 buy too. Evan Ingram, maybe. He's one of the most talented tight ends in the league. Hates playing in the cold. Maybe that's why he hasn't had great seasons in New York. Other guys I like. Logan Thomas, I think, is a value. Always. Not crazy about a lot of these available tight ends, though, I'll be honest. Maybe Austin Hooper. Rumors Kyle Rudolph might return to the Vikings, but I still don't know that I like him that much, especially with Irv Smith there. Noah Fant, I mean, quarterback's going to be trash most likely, but he could see considerable targets in Seattle. Okay, let's see where we are. 142. Um, Receivers I like here. I mean, we could take a chance on Devontae Parker. But I just went ahead and took Noah Fant. He's got a week 11 bye as my third tight end. So I'm good on tight ends. So with this next pick, I'll look to take another receiver. Devontae Parker, Van Jefferson, DJ Shark, Marvin Jones in the mix, Nico Collins, Corey Davis, Alec Pierce, Sammy Watkins, I don't hate. Paris Campbell, I love. But I don't think I'd have to take him with my next pick. And so of these guys, the one with I guess the most potential really is Devontae Parker. Not terribly excited about him in New England, but he's a talented player. And Mac Jones is an improving quarterback. Well, but there he's gone. Um, so of these receivers here, Van Jefferson, DJ Shark, Marvin Jones. We'll see what the best ball cheat sheet says. Got to look. Got to go down. Um, okay. Oh, it auto drafted for me. I guess it took too much time. So I took Trubisky there, which is fine because I was going to take him eventually. Anyways, and so Paris Campbell's the only receiver, or really the only player other than Kenny Pickett I have queued up right now. So I'm going to go and see some other players I like. Potentially Sammy Watkins, I spoke about previously. I'm going to get the running backs out of here. I have enough running backs. Um, Tight ends too. I'm just going to focus on receivers right now. Wandell Robinson, a lot of upside there. Rookie receiver AJ Green, I really like, especially for the first 6 games of the season with DeAndre Hopkins out. Odell Beckham, I mean, he isn't with the team yet, but he's going to be. James Washington in Dallas. I mean, it looks like he's going to be a starter potentially with Michael Gallup maybe sitting the first few games. John Mechie, talented player in Houston. Brian Edwards could be the number 2 receiver in Atlanta. Somebody to keep an eye on. Byron Pringle. I mean, he was the second leading receiver in Kansas City last season. I loved him when he came into the league. I loved him as a rookie prospect. Some of these other receivers. I mean, Sterling Shepard. He always leads the Giants in targets when he's playing. Justin Ross is an interesting prospect in Kansas City. Somebody to maybe look at with my last pick to really complement that stack. N'Keal Harry just moved over to Chicago, could be a starter there. A lot of receivers taken early in this draft. Oh, my pick again. I'm going to go with Paris Campbell for this one. Paris Campbell, one of my top prospects when he came into the league, has had an injury-plagued career thus far, but he looks as healthy as he's ever looked since he's come into the NFL. And I think he could have a career year in Indianapolis out of the slot. So my pick again. Let's see who the best player available is. I mean, technically it's George Pickens. I have a lot of Pittsburgh players. Too many week 9 buys. I don't think I'm going to take one of them. I think I'm going to take AJ Green here. I think if there's one player in particular who profits from Hopkins missing the first 6 games, it is AJ Green. So I don't know how he's going to do after that, but I think for the first 6 games, he's going to be pretty solid there for Arizona. See how many picks I have left. So I think I only have 2 picks left. So I don't need another running back. I'm good there. I guess I could get a wide receiver. So I'm thinking I should either take a wide receiver and a tight end or a wide receiver and potentially another quarterback. I'm not going to take Wan'Dale Robinson and realize he's week 9 buy. I'm just going to get all these week 9 buy guys out of here. Quarterbacks who I could potentially take. I could actually maybe go Wentz and Logan Thomas. So I already have Terry McLaurin, and that would be a decent little stack. So I think that might be what I angle on. Just because Mitch Trubisky, I like him as my second quarterback, fine. But I have a stack there, but he could, I don't know, maybe Pickett takes his job at some point. Um, so I'm going to aim for Logan Thomas as my next pick, but If I don't get him, I think I'm going to go for another receiver. It's one of the more unorthodox teams I've drafted in one of these best ball drafts. So I think that might be it. Yep, 18 picks. So the team is Patrick Mahomes, Mitch Trubisky, Carson Wentz, running backs Joe Mixon, Najee Harris, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Rashad Penny, Damian Pierce. Wide receivers Deontay Johnson, Terry McLaurin, McCole Hardman, Michael Gallup, Paris Campbell, AJ Green. And tight ends Dalton Schultz, Pratt Fryermuth, Noah Fant, Logan Thomas. So there you have it. More tight ends than I would have liked to have drafted. But I just think, where you were drafting these guys, I think they were the best players to take where they were available. So there you have it. Sometimes these unorthodox lineups will work. All right. So on behalf of the Trash Man, this has been, well, on behalf of Roster Watch, this has been the Trash Man. Excuse me. See you next time. Be ready.